So we're starting today with Billie Eilish after she goes on a global stage talking about stolen property and nobody's illegal, while serious questions surface about the land tied to her own property. And yes, the irony writes itself. Then we're going to move on to Tucker Carlson, fresh off of his trip to Jordan. Yes, I said Jordan. And all the while, he's continuing this strange love affair with the Arab regimes and with Islam, while taking shots at Israel and flip-flopping on everything he once claimed to stand for. And then after that, Elon Musk shows up inside of the Epstein files. And of all people, guess who had what to say about it? Yeah, that's going to shock you. And of course, after all of that, Candace Owens, you're not going to believe who just invited her. Seriously, it may shock you. It will be all of that and more on today's show. Roll the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Nissim Black Show. Do you really think, if you were to put yourself in their shoes, that you'd be worried about who the politician, what side they're on? It just does not work that way. I'm Nissim Black, Israeli-American Black Hasidic Jewish rapper turned podcaster. This is the Nissim Black Show, where prophecy meets politics, faith collides with culture, and we search for truth in a world on fire. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Nissim Black Show. Always my pleasure, my honor to be with every single one of you. Day in, day out, we are bringing it to you live here on the Nissim Black Show. So make sure, ladies and gentlemen, before we get into anything, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure that you hit the notification bell. That's if you're on YouTube. If you are following us on Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, make sure you download, go stream, go and catch up with us, because we are trying to be just about everywhere, right? And we have to be everywhere. Why? Because we've talked about it before. We are in a spiritual battle, spiritual warfare. And if you have not been made aware of that yet, then I'm so happy you're here today, because I'm going to tell you, this is why we cover these guys. I really originally started my podcast. I only wanted to deal with spiritual things. As I continue to grow, I've talked about this recently on a podcast I was on. Then I realized that there was a major need to start addressing a lot of the Jew hate, because no matter how positive and how spiritual, how uplifting I was getting so much hate, even in my DMs or messages, comments, whatever the case was, that I felt that there had to be some kickback. Then I started to realize I got to fuse the two together, because I can't keep talking about all of these people. I started to genuinely start to feel sick. Now, more and more that some of these gripers, grifters, all these other people, the name came out of my mouth. I couldn't do it. And that brings me to this point, and how important that this is, that you're cognizant of the spiritual battle that we're up against. You have got to be rooted in God, rooted in daily devotion. Listen to it. I'm not talking about praying every once in a while. I'm not talking about learning Torah, reading your Bible, whatever the case. I'm not talking about I'm talking about devotion. That means that I have set aside time for me and God to get myself grounded. And I'm intentionally setting aside romantic time, intimate time for me and my God. That is the only way to make it through all of this nonsense, the shenanigans, because it's all on the left and it's on the right. At one point, we thought we had a safe haven. A lot of conservatives, for sure, people of faith, for sure, thought that there was some safe place to go to. Jews, for sure, we thought that, right? And after October 7th, as the world has spun, as things have just gotten even more crazy, we all get to see that there is no safe place, ladies and gentlemen, except for in the arms of the Almighty God. Let's start with our first segment. You know, there was a time when celebrities had something to actually offer, right? In terms of their talent, even. They were much more talented, much more with it. They dominated in the industries that they were in, very dedicated, responsible individuals. And in a lot of ways, they were much more talented also, right? It took more talent because there were less resources. There's so many different resources today to help whatever celebrities, and almost which within any field, be better at what it is that they do. I mean, I'm even looking at the sports world even. Today, you can hardly touch anybody. You can't touch quarterbacks like you used to be able to. You can't, And that's one of the reasons why I still, even though this is not what we're talking about right now, but I just have to say why I happen to believe that Michael Jordan is much better than LeBron James. I mean, you can't touch LeBron. He played in a NBA where you couldn't touch him. Michael Jordan used to have to get dealt with being clotheslined. I'm sorry for digressing. However, the reason why I say all of that is that all those things, to me, feel as if they have gone down. For some reason, celebrities think that we want to hear them more. The intelligence has gone down also in a lot of ways. And they now all speak on social issues. They all speak on politics, even at a time when nobody's even asking them what their opinion is. And I wouldn't mind it if they had something valuable to add to the conversation. And I think that's all of us. We wouldn't mind if they had something that was really valuable to add to that, that conversation that everybody's having right now, socially, politically. However, when you don't have anything to add, but you just want to virtue signal, then that you can keep that. Like, we don't want that. And I'm saying this because Billie Eilish, I mean, think about it. The Grammys used to be, the Oscars, whatever it was, people used to get up and give thanks to God, right? If there's no other sign than seeing all of these award shows and all these other things, like when people get up and accept their rewards, I would love to see if somebody has ever done this before. I would love to see a clip. I'm putting up Milk Bar to it, Nate Livingston. Somebody I want to see in comparison how much in the older days, I don't care how many years, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, where people would actually get up and thank God. That would be the first thanks in their family, in their friends, or whoever helped them get to that point. People today get up, free Palestine, forget the ICE agents, whatever. I'm not going to say the actual word. But I cannot believe that this woman said that. I mean, Billie Eilish, and if you guys don't know, Billie Eilish was at the Grammys, and she gets her award, and she screams, drops an F-bomb on ICE. And then she goes on to say the dumbest words ever that have come back to haunt her already. She says that on stolen property, people aren't illegal, or something in that case. Nobody's an illegal on stolen property, right? And that... It's come back to bite her because it's just the easiest thing in the world for any person to be able to test you on if you really stand by that which you are virtue signaling about. I want you to see this image. See this here. This right here is a beautiful picture. My mansion is built on stolen land, but I am not giving up because I'm a hypocritical virtue signaler. And the reason why I say that is roll clip 1.
Illegal on stolen land.
Okay, it's stolen land. Who should we give it back to? The Tongva, who lived in LA before we did? Or the Hokan peoples they conquered? How about whoever came before them? You know what? Let's just cut out the middlemen and give it to Adam and Eve. Look, emotionally, I get where Billie's coming from. There have been abuses of power by ICE. But errors in enforcing the law don't mean we don't enforce a law. It means we enforce it humanely and by punishing employers who hire illegally. That's why people came here in the first place. But look, politics aside, the history of humanity is violent. Men with spears took land from men with rocks. Men with guns took it from them both. It's a cycle that we need to stop. But if land has been stolen in the past, the answer is to fix the future, not adopt policies that self-destruct the country that's here now. Because America is...
Isn't it just like a breath of fresh air to hear somebody speaking common sense? We don't get that often today, ladies and gentlemen. We just don't get that often. Shout out to Kazan. If you don't know him, I think it's That's Kazan, at That's Kazan. I mean, he always puts out great things. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. I've always called him Kazan, but he always does these beautiful, informative videos, but this is one of them. It's just so good to hear people speak some common sense. I don't have nothing to contribute other than that.
It's not just a piece of land. It's a community. A community that built roads, rails, and running water so hundreds of millions of people can thrive, not just hundreds of thousands. A community of revolutionaries whose constitution inspired other countries. And here's the thing about communities. The healthy ones have strong boundaries, because no boundaries means no one builds. Would Billie invest in her home if anyone could walk in and live there? Would the Grammys be worth attending if anyone could show up? Would anyone build anything worth entering if they didn't have a say on who entered it? That's why private property exists. That's why the Grammys have security. That's why Billie's home has gates. The things we value have boundaries. And we should value America. But okay, I mean, they're already here. Why not just let them stay? Because the only difference between them and millions of people waiting to come here legally is that they were willing to cut the line. Because we gave amnesty to 3 million people in 1986, and now we have tens of millions more. Because when you watch people cut the line, you stop believing in the line and stop trusting the people running it. I mean, why should you even pay taxes if they get access? Why follow the rules if breaking them is rewarded? Now, does that mean we should do anything we want to people who are here illegally? No. They're humans and they must be treated humanely. But they aren't entitled to be here. America has its sins, but we can't get to the future if we're constantly beating ourselves up over the past. Because if you're driving forward while looking behind you, eventually you're going to crash. So let's be aware of our sins, but focused on our wins. If you'd like to support unapologetic...
Well, honestly, I mean, who can argue with what he said? Nobody can argue with what he said. I'm sure there are people, but nobody can argue with what he said. And he made a great point, because Billie Eilish, her property actually is not only is it surrounded, but it is surrounded. You're talking about heavily fortified. Something tells me, I don't know what it is. Something tells me that she doesn't want illegals coming to her property. Something just tells me that. I want you to see, ladies and gentlemen, Matt Wallace shared this on Twitter. Now, if you look at it in the streets there, you'll see this is him actually at her property. He did from like a bird's eye view. He went up and he's able to show you that surrounding it is a massive wall. He says, I took a closer look at Billie Eilish's sprawling mansion. She doesn't just have one wall. She has 3 so tall that you can't even see over them. Heavily fortified and surrounded by security. Meanwhile, she expects you to let criminals into your community. You're a bigot. This is crazy. And the reason why it's crazy is because it's just virtue signaling. There's no, it is literally hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy. Because, you know, at one level, you're going to say X and you're going to call out these people. And I'm sure, and I've talked about this before. We just talked about it the other day, a few episodes ago, where Obama himself, when he was saying it, nobody said anything. Nobody had anything to say when it was Obama. All of a sudden, it stopped. And the irony of it is this, ladies and gentlemen, they want a virtue signal. They want to talk about issues and all these other things. The reason why it's so bothersome, nobody got up and said anything about Iran. Nobody said anything about Iran. And this is, people understand, stay in your lane. This is not what we're paying you for, right? But your words will always be tested. We used to say that, you know, if you speak that, and you are going to get an opportunity, you're going to get an opportunity to show if that is what you really live like, right? And she will be tested, and she has been tested. GB News went to her house and just wanted to see if they could possibly get in. It didn't matter, because since she is technically on stolen land, then that means that, you know, he's not illegal. He can legally enter into her property.
Listen, please, Billie. We are here because this is stolen land, Billie, and we think we should be given access to your quite lovely $3 million mansion. Hello, Ben Leo from The Late Show Live on GB News. Do you remember when Billie Eilish said this at the Grammys?
No one is illegal on stolen land. Nice is all I want to say, sorry.
Well, Billie reckons there's no such thing as an illegal human because we're all on stolen land. So we're here in Billie's quite posh neighbourhood in Los Angeles. Let's go and see if she practiced what she preaches. Hopefully, if she sticks by her merits, she'll have no problem with me waltzing in, maybe making a cup of coffee or a tea. $3 million home. She's got some paddocks out the back with stables and horses. Maybe we can go for a horse ride. I'm sure she'd have no problem with it because she stood up on the stage at the Grammys, tens of thousands of people watching in the audience, millions around the world. The clip's gone viral. Here we go. Oh, nice little place. Bins are out, it's bin collection day. First of all, isn't that ironic? Massive gates keeping people out. I thought Billie didn't believe in borders. Well, according to the driveway, Billie does believe in borders. She believes in massive gates keeping people out. A couple of cameras up there as well. The lights are on, so somebody must be home. Let us in, please, Billie. We are here because this is stolen land, Billie, and we think we should be given access to your quite lovely $3 million mansion. And such
Plastic, man. I just have to say it. People are plastic. This all this nonsense. It is just complete plastic. I'm gonna let this thing go ahead and finish, but so fake.
Much is Billie's concern for security and privacy. It's surrounded by pretty decent security fencing. Very nice indeed. Massive security hedges as well. She's taken a lot of concern and time to make sure she's got some privacy, as you'd expect. Oh, there we go. At the $3 million Los Angeles pad of Billie Eilish, she reckons nobody's illegal because we're all on stolen land anyway, but when it comes to her own house here in LA, I think she's got different ideas.
And so there you have it for yourself. It was pretty obvious that he wasn't going to be able to get in. But, the virtue signaling is destroying the country. It's destroying the youth. It's destroying people because you get up there, you have this massive platform, you speak and you say something that you yourself don't even believe. And it shows in the way that you conduct yourself, in the way that you carry yourself, in the way that you have your home. Because if that was the truth, then you would, technically share everything that you have in your property with everybody. And that's the problem. Don't pay attention to these celebrities. Right now, the sickness, the toxicity of this right now is beyond just it is all just beyond the virtue signaling. It is also this false notion of a false mercy. It's a mercy that is false. All right, toxic. What did Ellie Beth Stuckey calls it? Toxic empathy is what it is. I call it love without borders, right? Funny enough, without borders. When you don't put up a border around love and you do not operate in a system where you love people with borders, perhaps godly borders, right? There are borders and fences that God puts up, right? And there are things that are outside those bounds that usually results in lawlessness and a disgusting and vile life for a person. However, within there, anything inside of those borders, you can give it that unconditional love. Once you go outside of those borders, everything that spills over is not love anymore. It is cruelty. And that's what happens. Love becomes cruelty when it does not have borders around it. And that's no different than your home no longer being a private property anymore if you don't have borders around it, especially if you're a celebrity, right? You will not have a private property if you have no borders, if you don't have a fence, something that you put around it. So all this virtual signaling, it just is what it is. That's who these people are. None of them are real. They are just as plastic as they are in your headphones, on your TV screens. It's the same thing. Hey, wait 1 second. I want to tell you about something really unique I was invited to be a part of. It's called the Dream Raffle, and the grand prize is a fully furnished $1.2 million apartment in Jerusalem. It's not a timeshare, not a discount, an actual move-in ready home in one of the most meaningful cities on earth. You're entering a raffle, so it's a chance to win. But here's what matters to me. This isn't just about the prize. The raffle is run by a nonprofit, and every single ticket supports real causes in Israel: emergency responders, families in need, widows and orphans, soldiers, and community programs. So whether you win or not, your participation is doing real good in the world. They also have bonus prizes for early entries, including cash giveaways. If this speaks to you, the dream, the mission, or both, check it out at thedreamraffle.com/Nissim. That's thedreamraffle.com/Nissim. Okay, back to the show. So, of course, this individual, short short piece here I just wanted to say, just because I felt like it needed to be addressed. Muhammad Hijab, who is, I think he lives in London. He is an extremist. He's an extremist in almost every way. But there's a clip floating around of him right now because he had some choice words to say about Elon Musk, the fact that he was in the Epstein files. Now, Muhammad Hijab, obviously from the name, those who are not familiar with him, he is a Muslim, and he also believes in the things that they believe in. Now, I'm saying that just to preface you because the clip I'm about to share has some very disturbing content in it. And so I'm just forewarning you before I play this so that you can hear it. Now, this is a person who, now everybody now, as these Epstein files have been released, you need to know there's been 3.5 million something files that have come out. So there are a lot of people inside of these files that had nothing to do with what was going on. Some people are in there, recently I saw Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck is in there because, Jeffrey Epstein hated him. And so he came up in a conversation by way of email because some students are, somewhat of Glenn Beck. So therefore he's in there also too. President Trump is in there, obviously been very proven that the allegations or anything towards him were false completely. If you want, I will give a whole rundown on that. There's been plenty of other people, Benny Johnson, seen other people have covered that. So the Trump thing was put dead very, very early because it was, obvious that they were just trying to bring him down. However, when it comes to people like this guy, they used to say, what's the term? Like if you throw a stone, don't throw stones from a glass house, right? Because we already know what you are about. We know what your religion teaches. We know what you guys are about. You guys are open with all of this. We know that there's a cesspool of pedo energy coming out from you guys. And so you didn't have to even dig deep for this clip that I'm about to share with you guys right now. Bro Slot 3.
Well, if you were to be intimate with a 14-year-old or 13-year-old who's got huge hips and huge breasts and huge body, I mean, quite frankly, we would say it's not going to have the same effect medically. I mean, no one can make the argument. But in these countries where we live in now, one is legal and one is illegal. So, in other words, you can't marry a 100-year-old woman, but you can marry that girl that's you can't be. You're a pedophile if you go for the girl that's got the hips. And once again, pedophilia is very relative.
Yeah, being a pedo is relative. It's relative what you are. And this is one of those other areas, and I'm so surprised that people have not made this connection yet. There was a TED Talk I seen a while ago. I actually did cover something on this. It was a while back, actually, where there's a TED Talk where a person was basically saying, Officer Tatum, I think he has actually shared this a while ago, and that's where I first got it, that, this, pedo obsession is not really an evil thing. What it is, it's a preference. Okay? Listen to what I just said. It's really a preference. And because society is the way that it is, these people who have a preference, no different than the LGBTQ, alphabet gang, no different than them, that it's a preference that doesn't go in line with the way society is right now. So therefore, we should have remorse. There we go back with this love without boundaries, right? So therefore, we should have a remorse for these people who don't get to live out, their love that they want to impart to the world. Like they can't live out their desire or their preference. You understand what I'm saying? So you have this extreme progressive, ideology along with what, Islam teaches and what is for sure been the clear practice, up until today. There was all ancient societies. A lot of people had that, older people marrying younger. It happened. We are living in a time and a generation where that is completely disgusting, and all of society today holds that is probably one of the worst things that a person can do, right? If we're just judging off of the way that we feel as human beings in society, which is innate, it's not a biblical idea. I'm being honest, that is not a biblical idea, but not everything that is disgusting and loathsome had to be written. Some of these things were put inside and planted inside the human, And some of it was deep in there, and eventually it would have to come out at a society right now where we are smart enough and able to have, the proper responsibility to be pleasing to God. And I would say this also with this guy. You are not the one to speak. All you guys who've been talking, all of these radical Islamists who believe in this, I mean, they do this for a living. You don't even bring up the Epstein files. Just why do you guys even feel the need to bring anything to the conversation? I don't understand it, and I won't understand it. But the reason why I'm saying that, and my point that I was actually making, was that this is another place. It's not only their hatred of Jews, their hatred of Christianity even, that these two people get together, these progressives and the Islamists. They also get together on pedophilia. They all believe in this as well. They are all about that pedal to the metal, unfortunately. But that's all I had to say about this guy. I don't want to spend a whole day on him because honestly, I really could. Wait, before you get back to the show, I just want to let you know that we have launched Nissim Black Store. All you have to do is go online, order yourself one of these amazing mugs, God is King, with a matching t-shirt. We have a whole plethora of different shirts that are all about representing God wherever you go. As believers in the one true God of Israel, it is our duty not to hide, not to back down, not to shy away from expressing our faith wherever it is that we go. If you want to go and walk righteously before your God with a nice t-shirt, with a nice sweater, with a mug that's reminding us constantly that God is here with us, go to nissimblack.store and make sure you get yourself some merch. It really helps support this channel and everything that we're doing and everything that we plan to do. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. I thank you all for all of your support. Okay, back to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to say that Tucker Carlson just never ceases to impress me. He doesn't cease to impress me because there is no amount of money that you could pay somebody, right? That just nothing that you could give them to believe that Tucker Carlson isn't being paid. I just don't believe that any person who's sane can actually, you have to look at who he is, who he has on the show. I just want to show you all who is next to be on the Tucker Carlson show. It gets bad, but then it just gets worse. Ian Carroll is slated to be on it, and I just want to show you who Ian Carroll is. And not only being a fan boy girl of Candace Owens, he happens to have become probably just as bad as her, as being the arch nemesis of TPUSA and Erica Kirk, by the way. And the reason why this is so telling and why it's so weird, I just want you to understand that how so weird, how Tucker could be such a good friend, TPUSA. He speaks, give a eulogy for Charlie. He's, donates $1 million to TPUSA and all these other things. And then he has on Ian Carroll. Almost everybody who Charlie, Ian, I don't know at the time that he was alive, but for sure, Nick Fuentes and all these, it's the guy's just unhinged. Just please come on my show. If you hate Charlie Kirk, if you hate America, if you hate Erica, please come on my show. Please, I want you more. You hate Israel, right? Then you could be on my show. That is the criteria, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to show you who Ian Carroll is, just in case you are not familiar with who he is. See this low life of a person. Bro, slap 4.
Are you a bunch of slackers, Erica? Zach, in case you weren't aware, she's up, which is kind of her MO ever since she's been a CEO. She's up bigly. Defamation. That makes Turning Point look like that makes Turning Point look retarded. What exactly happened to the Doge effort, Erica? You bunch of slackers? Are you a bunch of slackers, Erica? You slacking off on your Doge effort? It'd be a real shame if Erica were to do some Doge effort. Listen, Turning Point, listen, Turning Point, and all of y'all shills. Just because you're retarded doesn't mean we all have to be retarded too.
I just wanted you to get acquainted with who the next guest of Tucker Carlson is. You have to see this. And what's interesting is about all these guys, they are so hard to look at. They are so hard to consume. I don't even know how people actually consume them. And it's deeper than, I'm telling you, it is deeper than just disagreeing with these individuals. It's far different. There are plenty of people who I have disagreed with, and I'm sure that those of you who are listening to this can think of people that you disagree with that it just doesn't irk you when they speak or to see their face, right? There's such a spiritual depravity in all of these individuals: Ian Carroll, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Nick, there's such a, there's something that boils inside. And I will say this, much more so by these guys than even sometimes even Nick. Nick's just vile. He's disgusting and all these other things like that. But you can see him on a regular podcast. And because maybe, what, Coleman Hughes actually says, what he actually said was right, that he puts on this different face. He's less, I hate this because it always sounds like I'm giving this guy compliments, and I think he's, just don't take my words the wrong way, right? I think he's much more misguided. I think Nick Fuentes is completely misguided. A lot of this stuff is intentional. Some things he's intentionally misguided on. Other things he has these beliefs, and I've seen him break down things, and he's just off with a few things that, like, there's a lot of truth there, but then he's off. And so that little bit that took him off took him in a completely different direction and made him a complete nutcase and a bigot and a racist and everything else that he is. However, with these other guys, I think what's happening is that they're so disingenuous that, sometimes I've talked about this before, and I don't know if anybody can identify that sometimes when somebody's lying and they're saying something to you, they're being dishonest or they're lying and they're saying it to you. There are some people who have the personality where they just call people out right then and there, right? But generally people that don't have that personality, or if they're in a circumstance where it's not easy for whatever reason in that environment to just call them out there at that moment, then you could start to feel the embarrassment for them. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you could start feeling embarrassment for them, and it's a shameful thing that they're lying to you, being dishonest with you, or whoever's there, and for whatever reason you're not calling them out, but as they're lying, and that they're lying, that they're being disingenuous or dishonest about whatever it is as they're saying it to you. And you could just start to feel embarrassed for the person. It is a thing. That same level of just being irked, whatever bone or whatever that is hitting. That's the same thing I get when I see people like Tucker Carlson or Ian Carroll, who will be the next guest, right? And Tucker is so busy right now with the new AF, by the way, which is not American first, but Arab first, that we just cannot see this guy in America anymore. He's just always in another Arab country. Here's Tucker on his visit. I don't know where this is actually, probably somewhere Saudi Arabia, Jordan. I think this is on his Jordan trip recently. Yeah. So he went to Jordan recently, and you can see that some of that's a little bit too close for comfort for me. That's just the way I feel. A little bit too close for comfort. And I want you to keep look at him over there with the traditional dress. I have more pictures for you, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to shock you. Going to shock you when you see how somebody responds to this. And it's going to show, because one of the things about Tucker is he's the easiest guy to just put up a comparison of him to him just a couple days apart, and you're going to get something completely brand new, something completely different. Here he is over here pandering to the people of Jordan. He went on a trip over there, and just hear what he had to say about his trip.
This is definitely one of the prettiest I've ever been to. Well, the first thing I noticed is how pretty it is. I've been to Jordan before. I don't know if it's you've had rain or you've devoted more water resources to the plants, but the trees are just brighter and more numerous than I remember. It looks wonderful. The country looks great. We just drove across it, and I was just struck by how pretty it is. I loved going to Jesus's baptism spot on the Jordan, which was remarkable. I love the churches. I was amazed by how much land the government of Jordan has given to Christian churches. I thought that was quite a statement. I loved it. And Wadi Rum is the quietest place I've ever been. And as someone who loves quiet and silence and thinks it's really important, it was just wonderful to be here. I mean, no sound.
Who's buying this, by the way? Are you guys buying this? Are you buying this ad for almost every Arab country, Jordan? Like, are you buying this? This doesn't talk about disingenuous. Like, who is he selling this to? I'm trying to figure out who is buying any of this. He has become literally the spokesman for Islam. That's really what he is.
At all. I woke up early this morning and sat outside and drank a cup of coffee and marinated in the silence. So no, it's one of the prettiest places on earth. I can say that with authority since I've been all around, been to a lot of places.
Kafaya.
And this is definitely one of the prettiest I've ever been to. I am standing in front of a Christian monastery in an overwhelmingly Muslim country. This is the country of Jordan. And I am shocked above all by the beauty of it, by the care the government has taken to restore, to preserve, to beautify this area along the Jordan River, just steps from where my Savior, Jesus Christ, was baptized by John 2,000 years ago. And I'm overwhelmed by it. And I want to say thanks again for the beauty too. One of the ways I personally judge whether something is from God or from his enemies is on the basis of beauty. God is beauty. And so when you see buildings and landscapes like this, you can feel certain whoever did this is on the right side.
Listen, Tucker, whatever you're selling, I ain't buying. Because you are a sellout. I'm telling you, the guy is such a sellout. It's ridiculous at this point. Now, okay, baptized over there. I mean, the territory, that, by the way, Jordan is Israel. That is Israeli territory. And I know that probably is going to be controversial for all these people. Israel's taking land and all these other things like that. That is technically Israel. And contrary to what you just saw there in that video, you could even look this up on the satellite. This has been shown. This is part, a lot of tourists have seen this. A lot of Christians who have been here have seen that when you look at it on the satellite, there's much more desert on that side of what was considered ancient Israel than this side of ancient Israel. And that's because the prophets have spoken that the land responds in part to the Jewish people being in their land, meaning that in Ezekiel, where it talks about the vegetations, the fruit, the budding of the trees, is a sign of redemption, but the sign of the rightful landowners returning back to their land. And that's why you'll see that a few of these other territories that are also surrounding what is today the modern state of Israel are much more deserty than green. So that just happens to be the truth. I just wanted to say that fun fact. But Tucker, again, is being criticized. And the reason why he's being criticized is because he had a lot to say about all the politicians who were making their way to the Western Wall. Him and other people also said the same thing. But and not only did they make it to the Western Wall, not only did he criticize them for praying at the Western Wall, but because they had on a yarmulke, because they partook in what Jews did. But I want you to see this. So I think his name is Awesome Jew on Twitter, wrote this just based on the video that we all seen, right? He says, this is next level pathetic. You don't get to mock politicians and influencers for praying at the Western Wall and then turn around and I think it says cosplay the same religious tourism with the Muslims. You did the exact same thing, Tucker. Tucker Carlson is now strutting through the Middle East in a cafe. Look at that. All that he was talking. And this is what I am trying to point out to all of you. There is a certain just dishonesty, disingenuous, that just not real. I don't know. These are plastic people from this, Billie Eilish, you see it, plastic virtue signaling, whether it's on the left or you see all these double-sided things where a person can say one thing and then turn around and say another thing. You know, the biggest contrast for sure is the many years apart of Tucker Carlson way back then to now. Easy one. But this guy does it just months apart from himself. And it's just not you and me seeing it. Other people are seeing it. Watch this clip.
Before. Anyone is still talking about any of that nonsense, Gaza, Iran, should be called out immediately as someone who just doesn't care about America.
And here is just 2 days after that.
Jank.
Good to see you, Tuck.
In Gaza.
Iran in Gaza. Iran, 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 Iran,
Iran. Gaza.
Iran, Gaza. Well, in Gaza. Iran.
In Gaza. In Gaza.
In Gaza. In Iran. In Iran. In Gaza. Iran. Iranians. Gaza. In Gaza. Iranian to Iran. Well, in Gaza. So we should do something about Iran.
Anyone who's still talking about any of that nonsense, Gaza, Iran, should be called out immediately as someone who just doesn't care about Americans.
Oh, and I looked it up just for good measure. Israel was mentioned 222 times in his episode. For context, that's about on average a little more than every 30 seconds. On top of Gaza and Iran, and I'm sure other terms that match that topic.
Listen, you just can't make the stuff up. It just already does it for you. People of God, steadfast. People of God, steadfast, because the victory is coming. The victory is coming. Over all of this shenanigans, all of this nonsense, this whirlwind, a cesspool of dishonest people, grifters, groypers, progressives, all these other things, they will be laid to rest very, very soon. I'm just a firm believer, because a lie can only go for a little bit of time before it breaks down. It just doesn't have anything to stand up on, right? So, and even if it, like we said before, even if it began with some truth, and that's how a lot of these guys garnered their audience, by the way. They said something, they started off with truth. There were things that they were contributing at that time, right? A lot of them just mimicking what other people are saying. But nevertheless, it's the truth that got them to their place. But guess what? When they got to that place, they abandoned the truth. And so we'll see what happens. But this is the new AF. This is the new AF. Arabs first. Yours truly, Tucker Carlson. Let's move on. I don't have to tell you that in our fast-paced lives, we rarely stop to just breathe, to reconnect ourselves with Hashem and with our purpose. And that's why I'm really excited to tell you about Kavana, an incredible new app that helps bring mindfulness and Jewish spirituality into everyday life. It's filled with guided meditations, music, sleep stories, quick 1-minute pauses, and daily inspiration, all designed to help you live with more Kavana, with more intention, more presence, and more meaning. And right here on the Kavana app, I'll be releasing a brand new guided Hypocrisy series, a powerful journey into personal prayer and connection with the Creator. So go download the Kavana app today, sign up, and join me for the course. Okay, for sure last and for sure least, some of y'all won't get that till Tuesday. We have, of course, Candace Owens, Candy rapper Owens. Okay, so now listen, I've been thinking about this a lot with her. Is that, you know, she has been extreme everywhere she's been. I've talked about this before. Other people have pointed it out to me before, but then I started recycling, going back, and I started thinking, like, she has been extreme. When she was a leftist, she was completely extreme. She created that doxing site. She, you know, regular progressive, horrible things about Donald Trump and all this other. I mean, now she's come full circle, but, you know, this is what she was. She was an extremist type of person. Extreme, with feminism even. Like, the things that she would go into was, like, completely extreme. She became a Republican, red pill black, right? She was also still extreme. She started off, and a lot of people didn't take to her because she became very extreme, very pro, anti black. And that was one thing I could say that bothered me. I did not like the way, even though I didn't buy all the what was going on, all the sexual racism and the cops of this and that and whatever. I didn't hop on that bandwagon, but I did grow up in the hood. That's where I came from. So I just still didn't think that the delivery and a lot of the ways that she was speaking to people and the way that she would tee off on people was necessarily the best way to communicate that. And I had sent private things or whatever the case to her at that time, letting her know, listen, maybe you can, like, not be so extreme, because that's what she does, be extreme. And then that went on, and you're like, okay, whatever, I'll look past that. And people that were still listening to her for a while. Then it, like, seemed like it was slowly happening. You know, it's even happened back on when she was still working at PragerU. And she would have these, and I was a fan at that point. So I was listening, and, you know, she was like, she's on the team, you know, and she started going into some crazy stuff back then, like some crazy, like, foil tin hat stuff back then. But when you're listening to somebody and you agree with most of the things that they say, you will give them the benefit of the doubt. So at the beginning, you're like, oh, okay, so the water's turning everybody gay. Okay, so all right. So you're listening to that. And then you hear another, the conspiracy drop here and there or whatever. And then after a while, you just sitting there and you're listening and you go, okay, yeah. All right, she's crazy. And that's what we got to. We got to a place where this lady is off her rails. Now, today she's mocking both Jews and Christians, right? Well, she's blaming the world, all the world's atrocities on Jews. If you're a Jew, you just have destroyed and you are behind everything. If you're a Christian, you just get made fun of. See Candace.
In Hollywood, there is just a very small ring of specific people who are using the fact that they are Jewish to shield themselves from any criticism. The spiritual darkness and spiritual light that's happening, people that are practicing literally Babylonian magic, and then kind of Hollywood rose and they sort of make fun of people that go to church. Purchase my book that is up for sale. It is Make Him a Sandwich. I'm going to come right out and say it because the Holy Spirit just came over me right now on the podcast, you guys. Who's above me on the Spotify church? Joe Rogan. And I just want to say, damn that Joe Rogan. Do not listen to Joe Rogan's podcast. I'm just going to come right out and say it. Come on.
In other news, there's more backlash with this lady. As she continues, I'm just showing all of you. So if you're buying into and you think she's on the team, she's not on the team. She's on team Candace, and that's it. Candace and Candace only. But what's interesting right now, she's receiving a lot of backlash right now. Not because of something she did, and not because of something that she actually said. It's because she is being invited. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to see this. If I didn't see it, I wouldn't believe it. Candace is being invited to a national Catholic prayer for America, right? Taking place on March 9th. Look who the lineup is, okay? Another notable, Matt Walsh is there. Matt Walsh, in the middle there, Candace Owens. What is going on right now? The reason why that's circled is because Catholics are going crazy right now. They are going crazy. There's nobody, I can't think of one person that I've heard be supportive of this. I have even a friend of mine is calling that if Matt Walsh goes under this, that he should be fired from the Daily Wire, which I don't agree with. I think that, Matt has been pretty vocal about at least where he stood on this, at least the last time I checked. I don't know what's going on. Everything changed every day. But this is it's crazy to me. And I'm sorry to my Catholic friends. Like, who is in charge of this? Who is in charge of that? That they will put Candace Owens to pray for the America that she is trying to single-handedly bring down to its knees, her and the rest of the groypers? You just can't make this stuff up. The problem is that people fall for this. The problem is that people somehow, some way, find themselves in some, I don't know in which world, that anybody would invite her to pray about anything, right? She need to pray for her own soul. I genuinely thank all of you for joining me today. And as I've said, listen, getting back to God, getting back to devotion, that's the only thing that's going to save us from such people and such things and such silliness. As you've seen there, we have promoted the Kavana app. The course already today is already started. So make sure you go to Kavana and get yourself right. I'm going over a course over there of just personal prayer, right? Of really letting yourself go and being devoted to God. Ancient personal prayer, none of this new age stuff. And I'm not trying to, put down any therapist or anything like that, but I'm talking about making God your shrink, being alone with him and doing it constantly. I guarantee you this will change your life. I'm not talking about praying every once in a while. I'm talking about old school prayer closet, going in and spending time with God. But I'm going to give you the tools on how to actually say those things. So make sure you sign up on the Kavana app. And as we say always, ladies and gentlemen, remember to serve God or live trying. See you on the next episode.